Well, good morning. My name is Jorge Molina. I am an immigration attorney. I am the managing partner of J. Molina Law Firm and the creator of Together Direct. Today, we're talking about DACA and the DREAM Act, a theme that's very close to my heart and something that, not only affects clients or cases, but really people I consider close friends, family, and friends. So I'm very excited that you're able to be with us today. And if you have any questions, you can type them up in the chat or save them until the end, okay? So before we begin, just a brief disclaimer, okay? What I'm sharing with you today is based on information that is current until November 25th, 2020. Most of the information is based on the information that the Biden administration has shared to this day and the facts on the ground. But we can't really tell the future. We're just making educated guess, and some of this matter might change. So my advice to you is to, don't disappear. Keep in touch with your attorney. Hopefully we're your attorney, but if not, follow the news or rely on someone that you trust in this matter. So pay attention because there's a lot of moving parts. But again, this is a very it's a subject that's very close to my heart because in my view, DACA holders and dreamers are the best of us, right? So a great number of them are teachers, business owners, nurses. They're currently in the trenches right now fighting the pandemic. And in my view, it's just the best of us. So I'll share a PowerPoint very quickly. So I'll share my screen right now, okay? One second, technical difficulties. Something. Uh-oh. Share. There you go. All right, folks, so the future of DACA. So today we are going to talk about what is happening today, and I'll explain a few things, and then what we can expect in the near future. I'm not telling you what's going to happen in 10 years, but what we can expect from the Biden administration. And then we're going to tie that to why we need something more permanent. And that's what I mean with the DREAM Act. I'll define the DREAM Act and what it means and what it can do and why we need it. And lastly, we are going to talk about what you can do currently to make the DREAM Act a reality. Okay, so I believe about a week ago, a federal judge said that the acting secretary of the Department of Homeland Security was illegally appointed, and therefore any rules or policies that he had implemented were invalid. So arguably, DACA is, or that arguably you can file initial DACA applications right now. So the standards for DACA remain the same right now. So some of the things that you need to prove is that you were under 31 years old on June 15, 2012, that you entered the United States when you were under 16 years old, and that you have continuously resided in the United States since 2007, among the typical other things that many of you already know, right? So no significant misdemeanor in your record, or 3 or more misdemeanors, among other things. So, I say arguably DACA is still in the books even for initial applications, but in reality, the way that the USCIS is being managed currently, and by the way, it's really alarming, but the way that they're handling this is so arbitrary that if I were the person that could apply for an initial DACA, and for whatever reason, whether we didn't have the money to file the application, whether we were, trying to get rid of something in the record, or we're trying to get our GED or finish high school, I wouldn't spend the $495 today. I would just wait, we can wait 30 more days, or a little longer, about 45 days, and wait for the Biden administration to be in office. So we file our application. So we have a friendlier, or not just friendlier, but a more reasonable person heading the agency. So that's my advice in that regard. But it does seem that currently we can file DACA, initial DACA applications. Now, there's a chance that CIS, because of past policies, again, this federal decision is very recent, but there's a chance that if CIS office could say, no, well, we're sticking to what the orders were before that. They haven't really announced how they were going to implement the orders from the federal judge, so that's why there's some uncertainty. But it seems that Citizenship and Immigration Services should be accepting new filings right now. Again, my advice is not to file, because we have an administration that is actively trying to rescind it and to take it away. All right. So the best thing is to wait for the future, the near future. And we know, based on what the incoming Biden administration has said, that very likely we're gonna see the expansion of DACA. So it's not gonna be limited to people who entered the United States before 2007, but likely people who entered after that. So just to give you a good sense of this, DACA was announced in 2012, and they backdated to 2007. That's why we have that date. Now, if we're expanding DACA, we're going to have DACA 2, and it's 2020. Maybe, again, this is just what I think based on my observations and experience, maybe it'll be expanded to people who entered before 2015. Here's another big one, all right? With the initial DACA, there was a lot of pushback for people who that entered under 16, had been in the United States their entire lives, but they were too old in 2012. Now, this hits home, because in 2012 I was under 31, but now I'm over. So I can see how time passes, we are all stuck in limbo, and because we pick one date or one age, a lot of people who really merit this don't qualify. So hopefully we can remove the age restriction and move the entry date to 2015. And the best thing is that new applications will be welcomed. We know that for a fact, well, based on what they've said to this date, that new applications will be welcomed, that the program would be, again, expanded, and that renewals will be encouraged. So it'll be business as usual, or as it should be, under the policy. Another thing that we can see is that the work permits could again be valid for up to 2 years, even 3 years. Before DACA was stopped, or its expansion was stopped in 2014, there was a pilot program allowing for the work authorization documents to be valid for up to 3 years. Hopefully we can start with 2 years. Currently it's only 1, but hopefully we can work up to 2, 3, and even more after that. Importantly, one of the key things that the Biden administration has announced is the fact that people will not be referred to immigration court if they are denied. Again, it depends on the circumstance. I mean, if you have an aggravated felony, you get arrested for something significant, first off, you don't qualify for DACA. You shouldn't be applying for DACA. But if for whatever reason your DACA wasn't approved, you shouldn't be referred to immigration court. You should encourage people to apply, come out of the shadows, to get the benefit that they qualify for. So under the current administration, there is frankly a insane policy memo that says that if a benefit is denied by CIS, almost automatically they're referred to immigration court. So ideally, that goes away, and we don't need to worry about that. But there's a caveat. So things look good, for the next 4 years. But what happens if, we have another administration like the one we currently have? Or what happens is if, they want to back or take it back or whatever it is for whatever reason? What would happen to all these people that are already applied, have been following the rules, and now we're stuck in limbo again, right? So I think currently we benefited tremendously from the incompetence of the current administration. If they would have been more organized, had better people running the agencies, DACA would be gone. We were saved by John Roberts by the Supreme Court, in essence, because the administration was not able to follow the rules to rescind policies like these. But, a more competent administration could have done it. So we need to start thinking about what can we do to fix this problem permanently. And before I jump to that, let's realize that it's just not right. It's not fair to play politics with these families and these individuals and businesses. DACA holders are husbands and wives, are business owners, are key employees in many industries. In education, there's a wide number of DACA recipients that are teachers. So we can't really play politics in regards to regarding this anymore, because it's just not fair and it's not healthy for our society. So we need something more permanent, and that's why we need to work on the DREAM Act. So the DREAM Act, as a matter of fact, it's been written already with bipartisan support. We were very close with passing the DREAM Act back in 2013, but for political reasons, it didn't happen. And I'm basing what we have written on that bill, but if a bill passes as a DREAM Act, it could be a little different from this. But in essence, is pretty much the same requirements for DACA, except that it requires either 2 years of college, in essence, or something similar to that, or joining the U.S. Armed Forces for about 2 years. Perhaps that requirement goes away if there is a passage, but that is what was in the books and what was being worked on in Washington before it was derailed. Another nice thing about this is that there's a streamline for citizenship, and it seems that it wouldn't take as long as a normal lawful permanent resident to apply for citizenship. So that is key, and hopefully we can have something that we can push for and advocate for. So what would the DREAM Act do? So unlike DACA, we're hoping that the DREAM Act becomes law. Now, laws can't be changed by any president. It needs Congress to act in order to pass it or to repeal it. So that's why a DREAM Act will give, all this community, our friends, family, teachers, nurses, firefighters, doctors, greater stability in the United States, and, a realization that, society actually cares for these individuals. And it would be a way for us to come together, realize, This is the only country most of the dreamers know. Um, we've done everything correctly. Finished high school, either started college or working. Never got in trouble. And frankly, you got to the United States because your parents or family members brought you here at no fault of your own. So the passage of the DREAM Act will be a way of society to love dreamers back and let you know what, we feel you, you're one of us, you belong here. So I think that would be a tremendous thing. But the passage of the DREAM Act will not be easy. It will require significant political pressure and political skill. Now, things are looking more and more like they're going to remain polarized, like they've been, the last, I would say, 10 years. So we, as a society, as an interest group, we need to come together, work together, organize to make this happen. So here, I'll come back to this point. So, we need to organize. So how do we organize? Well, stay active. Be aware of what's going on. Follow the news. Follow us. We're regularly circulating information on this matter and many others. And participate. If there's a march, go to the march. If, they're asking people to write to their congressman, help with that, right? And my commitment to this is that we are going to help our community organize. So in the coming weeks, we're going to invite community organizers and political activists to teach us how to do this. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can give you templates that you can follow to write your own letter. We will tell you who you need to write depending on your zip code, right? And what the theme or the underlying message should be. But in essence, you need to tell your story. We need to start treating dreamers and people with DACA as individuals and not part of a big class of people, just as individuals. Let us hear your stories about how you started your own business, how you're paying the bills in your household, how your children who are U.S. citizens depend on you, how your husband or wife are scared that you might be deported because they're trying to rescind DACA. So let us hear those stories. Don't be afraid of sharing your stories because we need them, right? And, if you're willing to do this, more power to you because you're actually doing something to make the change you want happen. Okay, so, and then on the more direct aspect, what can you do right now if you qualify for DACA and you're looking, to start doing something, even though my advice is to do not file right now. Let's wait a few months for the Joe Biden administration and then file. But start gathering your documents. That's a key thing. You're going to have to do it. And if you haven't done so already, gather your birth certificates or your school IDs. Also get evidence that you entered the United States before you were 16 years old. So what can this be? Photographs, receipts, bus tickets, plane tickets, proof of entry. So if your passport was stamped or you were issued an I-94, make sure you get that. Also, proof of presence. Now, this date will likely change if DACA is expanded. So, if you can look at for documents back from 2015, or if 2012, even better. Importantly, continuous residence in the United States just show that you've been living where you have lived. If you're living with your parents, perhaps you can get the lease contract or the mortgage payments for the house. If you're living on your own, again, same thing. If you're lucky enough to have a bank account, perhaps bank account statements. Gather your high school diplomas or GEDs. Now, if you don't have your high school diploma yet, my advice to you is to start taking GED classes. Now, there's some issues with some classes. So before you enroll and you spend a lot of money, reach out to us just to make sure that that school is going to be accredited or accepted based on their accreditations. So reach out to us. We really don't mind. And then with that, you're gonna know that your investment is sound, because I've seen that a lot, where people thought that they're getting the correct classes, but it wasn't really an accredited school, and they lose their money and they have to start from zero. So keep that in mind. And then if you're part of the armed forces, get your record, make sure that you're honorably discharged. And if not, reach out to us, and we'll see what we can do. But with that, that concludes the presentation. We're going to open it up to questions right now. And then if you don't have the opportunity to ask a question, you can always email me. And if you're a client of ours, you can, you have my email address. And if not, you can reach out to our office. Right? Stop sharing. All right. Okay, so we have a question here. So who should we write letters to? That's a great question. So your congressperson. So if you live, in Texas, Florida, Illinois, California, we have tons of dreamers and DACA holders in these states, and it's always a good idea to write to your representative, whether they're Democrats or Republicans or independents, and let them know what's going on in your own family and your own experience, and really humanize it and ask them to vote in favor of the DREAM Act. Other key individuals are state senators. So here in Texas, we have Senator John Cornyn, who expresses support for Dreamers and the cause, and said that he would like to pass a bill on this. So let's hold them accountable. So that's a good person to send them letters to, especially if you live in Texas. But there's other senators, for example, Susan Collins from Maine and Marco Rubio from Florida. If we remember the election results, it's going to be a very tight race in Georgia, but it seems that the Republicans are going to keep control of the Senate. So if the Joe Biden administration passes a bill like this, it will need Republican support. So that's why we need to target Republican senators as well. But very good question. Any others? All right, folks, I like to be concise and keep it short. I know your time is very valuable. And I thank you all for participating in the webinar. We're going to circulate this online for those that didn't have a chance to join us today. And just follow us on Facebook and be on the lookout for our email with the recording. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.